Welcome to Wildlife Outdoors with your host, Russell and Jose. If you have a passion for conservation of the outdoors, or you're enjoying a calming hike in the mountains, an exhilarating kayak trip on the river, feeling a fish on the end of your line, cooking on an open flame in a primitive campsite, or stalking big game, just waiting for the perfect shot, you're in the right place. So put on your boots and polarized sunglasses and come along for the ride.
All right, everybody. Thanks and welcome back for another episode of Wildlife Outdoors. My name is Jose, and we are joined today again with none other than Russell, and also a friend of the show, an avid outdoorsman. She loves to hunt. She loves to fish. She loves spending time outdoors. She's also used to be a hairstylist and now works for the Waterloo Rod Company out of Texas. We welcome Buffy Eggemeyer to the show. Thank you for joining us, Buffy.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
So I know we all had a pretty good discussion kind of before this show, but would you like to introduce yourself, Buffy, to the audience?
I would love to. Yes, my name is Buffy Eggemeyer, and I love to hunt. I love to fish. I grew up in North Texas as a bass fisher. And I did different tournaments, and I really, really, really enjoyed the conventional fishing of bass fishing on many, many lakes in the North Texas region. And then I broke into fly fishing, and now I enjoy that so very much. And it's gender friendly. It's all over the world. Bass live in amazing places, but trout live in beautiful places. And everywhere I've gone to trout fish has just been gorgeous, whether it's saltwater or freshwater. I love them all.
That's awesome.
Nice.
So how long have you been fly fishing for?
I have been fly fishing for about almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years in April.
Nice.
And
nice.
I started off taking lessons from an individual, and I was totally lost. I'm not even going to lie. If you're used to conventional casting and you're used to just throwing it out there forever and ever and ever, as far as your reel will take it, fly fishing is not like that.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, the first time I cast, I think it went 5 feet.
Sounds like my first year casting.
There you go.
I think we all can relate.
Yeah.
That's kind of the beautiful thing about fly fishing. Like if you didn't grow up doing it, even if you did, it's just like there's a really steep learning curve, and it's kind of humbling no matter who you are or how good of a fisherman you were before or whatever. It's like a whole new ball game. It's the great equalizer, I suppose, in that regard. But what was that catalyst, I guess, to kind of get you into fly fishing? Like, what was it that you're like, all right, I got to give this a shot? Was there like a particular thing, or was it something you were always interested in?
It was a totally particular thing. I was divorced for about 14 years. Met a man that moved back down from Alaska. He was a fly fishing guide in Alaska for 22 years.
Oh, wow.
And we fell in love. And I thought, you know what? I need to learn this fly fishing thing. And since then, I've been able to fly fish from Alaska to Wyoming, Montana, Utah, Idaho, you name it. It's opened up a lot of doors for me. And I'd like to say I had the best teacher with him being a guide, but I went off on my own and learned it by myself, because you don't want to learn from the person that you absolutely love and adore.
Right.
You do not want to hear them say, no, that's not it.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
There was a gentleman at a fly shop in Houston. We were talking. I think at this point, my friend was trying to teach his girlfriend at the time to fly fish. And he goes, look, man, I'm going to tell you right now. He goes, the last thing she wants is to be told what to do by you. You need to take her to a professional.
She needs to go somewhere else.
Yeah, because the thing is, that guy could tell her exactly what you're telling her, but she's going to listen to him before she's going to listen to you. Just because it's coming from you.
You do not know.
Exactly. She goes, so just do yourself a favor. Don't even like give yourselves anything to fight about.
Don't
Just
even
take
go
it to
there.
get some lessons. Yeah.
And that's the best advice you're ever going to get. And it worked perfect for me. I ended up at a couple of different fly shops in the Fort Worth area. I went to Houston to a couple of fly shops and learned. And there's so many lessons out there. Austin, Houston, Fort Worth. They're free. There's some that you have to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
I did both. I did a few of the free classes, and they're half a day here and there. They'll have little meet and greets, and you can learn so much from that, or even podcasts. I mean, I love the podcasts. You guys have been great on talking about fly fishing and talking about the different aspects. I love it.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
So have you been to any fly shops for casting lessons or learning anything from any fly shops other than warm water fisheries?
I have. I actually went to Pinedale, Wyoming, and they had a class for me, and it helped so much. That was the day before we actually went on the water, and just to learn how far you're going to cast on the river and the areas that you're going to. Sometimes you only need to cast 10 feet. Sometimes you need to cast 40 feet.
I see.
I've come a long way where we throw streamers and bigger rods, even on smaller rivers, to catch some of the bigger browns and different conditions and different times. But
That's awesome. Yeah, see, that's one thing with me is so I'm from Alaska originally, but I haven't had too much experience up there. I've only fly fished in Alaska one time, and that was last summer, not this past summer, the summer before. And I caught a lot of northern pike, some rainbows, and I hooked a grayling, but wasn't able to land it. Actually, no, the grayling hit my strike indicator. I wish I would have hooked it.
I caught one. I caught a grayling.
Oh,
I caught a grayling
it's on my
in
bucket list.
Pinedale, Wyoming. That was another one of my 4-inch stories.
Wow.
And I'm sure with it being that small, it was probably extremely colorful.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful on the Green River in Pinedale, Wyoming.
So what has been your take on the difference of learning from fly shops up north rather than down south?
Down south, they introduce you as an entirely new way of fishing. It's starting to pick up down south. Whereas before, most Texans, quote unquote, are generally conventional fishermen. And fly fishing is, it's a new way of life down here.
Yeah.
I mean, you're putting in a whole different category. When you're up north or in different states, fly fishing is the way to go. Conventional is the oddball out.
Yeah.
They don't have a spin rod. They don't have a caster. It's something totally different. It's more, well, do you fish with a 4-weight, a 5-weight, a 6-weight, a 7-weight? Do you load your line? Do you go up a weight, or what do you do?
Yeah.
They don't talk conventional fishing.
Really?
So interesting.
Yeah, they expect you to already know about fly fishing when you go to a class. Totally expect you to already know. So
that's
it's
crazy.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, because here it's like the total opposite. There have been times where I'll be fishing at a park or something, and people will just kind of look at me and they're like, "Dude, you actually catch fish with that thing?" I'm like, "I mean, yeah, it's so crazy. We're just seen as like the oddballs, and I guess I get it because it's not something you see a lot. At least where I'm from, I see more of it now, but." Like you said, it seems to be growing in popularity. But before, I mean, even me, like I remember growing up, I saw like 1 or 2 people fly fishing, and I was just like, I always thought it was for trout. I didn't know you could do that for bass and stuff like that.
Yeah, I didn't know you could even catch a carp on a fly, and that's the most fun in the world.
Yes,
catching a carp.
It is.
We went up to Montana, and the river we fish is a tailwater, which means the river flows through and it goes through a dam and then comes out into the river and carries on. So the tailwaters generally are cooler water. They don't change with the heat of the summer or whatever. It stays a continuous 48 to 52 degrees. Well, when you're up above the dam in the lake, that water holds carp like no tomorrow. And it's clear as a bell. It's 60 feet down, and you cast out with your fly, and those fish, you can just see them swimming up to it and just eating your fly. And it's just like, whoa, you just want to jerk that back. It's almost like topwater fishing 60 feet
That's
deep.
awesome.
That's awesome.
It is insane. It's beautiful. Those fish are absolutely gorgeous.
So that sounds like me and Jose are making a trip there soon, is what that sounds like.
That's what it sounds like. Y'all should join us next year on the trip. It'd be amazing.
Oh, I am down.
What time of year do y'all typically go?
We usually go the last week of July, and we'll go to Pinedale, Wyoming, fish the Green River. So far, I've fished 92 miles of the Green River.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And I've got about 45 more miles to go before I fish all of it.
That's awesome.
So you're trying to fish the whole thing.
That's my goal. Yep. And the rest of it's about an hour and a half travel just to put in, which is totally doable. That's not bad. And so we'll do that for 3 days. And then we go take a break for 3 or 4 days in Sheridan or Cody, Wyoming, or anywhere. It's different every year. And then we go up to Montana to the Bighorn River. Mm-hmm. And there's just so much history. I've looked into it. That's where the Bozeman Trail crosses the river, and you can still see the tracks from the wagons and the trail drive. Yeah, it's really cool.
That's awesome.
And that's where my husband and I actually got married, on the Bozeman Trail. So
that's
no way.
Cool.
Kind of special to me. Yeah, a little hokey.
Oh, yeah.
But so this year was really tough fishing. Generally, when we go, the river is at about 2,400 CFS, cubic feet per second. So it's not flowing super fast. In June, the river was flowing at 16,000 CFS.
Jeez.
Oh, wow.
They had so much snow, and it melted so fast and filled it up. So, when we were there this year, and the end of July, 1st of August, it was at 4,800. So it's twice what we're used to fishing.
Wow,
and,
that's crazy.
So we only caught the fast fish,
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I say. Well, I hope they're fast.
It's crazy the amount of snow that they got in that part of the country this year. Do you watch Wildfly Productions by chance?
Yes.
So they did that episode up there. I want to say it was in northern Idaho. Maybe it was Montana. It was somewhere up in that region. And
I think
they
it
were
was
talking
by the
about
Tetons.
snowpack. Yeah.
Oh,
and,
it was insane.
I mean, it was horrible. The water conditions just looked atrocious. I wouldn't have wanted to get on them.
They're half muddy. The water's flowing. There's white water where there's generally not white water. Mm-hmm. And when you try to get out and catch fish when you're waiting, that water's moving. You can't stand. You have to stand sideways in it, or you'll be gone downstream. It's pretty fun.
So this year when y'all fished it, like compared to the last, like when y'all fished in the past, what did y'all have to change? Like what did y'all do different to catch fish? Did y'all use different techniques, or
we did?
How did you approach that?
We ended up doing a lot of streamer fishing. And so a little heavier weight. We were using 7-weight rods and 7-weight reels, and we're throwing much meatier flies with sinking tip line. So, you could get down a little faster, and they would even put a little lead on it just to get a little deeper. I see. And that was the ticket. Yeah, you had to throw it basically on the bank and just let it fall, and then strip it back really, really fast. And it was a lot of work. That was my first time fishing such fast water with a streamer. And my husband's in the front of the boat, and he is 6'4". So when he strips, he moves some line. I'm a little bit shorter, so I have to strip a little faster. And so I caught about half the fish he did, which was fine. Whatever. As long as you get fish, everyone's happy. It's a catch and release. The whole river is catch and release. That's awesome. And it's like, oh, we got to bite. Oh, we got to hit. Oh, we got to jump. All of a sudden, you're tarpon fishing. And so it was awesome. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, my only experience fishing a big river like that was when Russell and I went to the White in Arkansas.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that to me was like a whole different ball game. Like I've only ever fished for trout in Texas, which I mean the Guadalupe and stuff, but very different, especially when you're like in a drift boat and you got some real current.
Someone rowing and going.
Yeah, and it was a cool experience, but it was like at least for me, it was a bit of a learning curve. We were throwing streamer. We started with streamers and then we switched to some nymph rigs. But I really enjoyed just throwing the streamers. I am not gonna lie, I'm not a big fan of nymph fishing. It can catch fish. I mean, it'll catch fish. I'm just not a big fan.
Yeah, I'd say we're both on the streamer junkie side of things.
It's throwing some meat. I mean, you're throwing. We were doing double streamers, and streamers.
Never tried that.
Oh, try that one next.
I've done it a couple times. We have a dam here, Carpenter Dam, it's the dam that makes Lake Hamilton here in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And I'll go down there when they're generating because the birds are working, and that's when the stripers like to come up and they'll eat the stocked rainbow trout. I have yet to catch one, but I've seen them caught and I've heard of them caught, and I've been told techniques on how to do it. And so I actually went out and picked up a spay rod for this reason, with a heavy grain head. And that way I could shoot out to it. And I've thrown double streamers on that before. And it's a little different. It's not as strip heavy as what y'all are having to do out there. You pretty much just let it dead drift and hope that a striper would see it. But you let it dead drift, you give some twitches, and then once it gets down, then you strip it up, and then you redo your spay cast. And it's a whole different art form, but it is I'm just hoping to get on a striper one day that way. Just have yet to have
you'll get it. And that's just it. That's what we're dying for, is that bite.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, we'll just keep trying. I can't tell you how many times I casted before I actually caught a trout the first time on a streamer.
Mm-hmm.
There's an art to it, and once you get it down, you're like, oh, I just figured it out. I figured out the pattern. I figured out whether I need to strip, wait, strip, wait.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's so much fun.
It's a lot of fun. I think that's part of the fun, just figuring out that piece of the puzzle, like figuring out first like what they want to eat, and then working it just right. And I think that's part of the fun, just figuring that out.
Totally.
So you remember your first streamer fish? Do you remember your first fish ever on the fly?
Yes. My first fish ever on the fly, I was in Thermopolis, Wyoming.
Okay.
Fishing the Bighorn River, and where I put in was called the Wedding of the Waters.
Mm-hmm.
It is it's the only river where in the middle of the river it changes its name. To the downstream was the Wind River, and then you get to this one part and it turns into the Bighorn. And there's a whole Indian ceremony. And so the guy that I went fishing with, my husband explained to him, this was the very first time I ever got to fly fish on water. Mm-hmm. I never had casted on water before, ever. Everything was dry land, practice, cast, false cast, get your line out there. And when you're picking up your line off of water, you know how it is. It's totally different than on land. And it weighs a ton. Mm-hmm. And so he's telling him, look, she's brand new at fishing, take it easy. Let's go slow. And so he comes out with all this fly fishing mama jumbo. What you're going to do is cast out at 45 degrees. You're going to pick your line up. You're going to lay it over at 90 degrees. All he wanted me to do was mend my line.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't say cast out and mend your line upstream. And so, that very first cast was a tiny, another 4-inch little trout. But my next one was 22 inches.
Oh, wow.
So my first trout, it was probably 7 inches. And then my next one was 22. And I was hooked. I'm like, this is absolutely amazing. But it was a Wedding of the Waters. So that's so cool.
What species of trout was it?
It was a rainbow.
A 22-inch rainbow?
22-inch rainbow. Yeah,
that's
she was beautiful. It was a female.
That's a pig rainbow.
Oh, it was. Wow. It was nice. So, for Montana or Wyoming, a 22 inch is amazing. I have a 38-inch rainbow on my wall from Alaska.
No way.
Yeah, she's huge. She's just beautiful and massive.
Where'd you catch her at?
Alaska.
Really?
Yep. Actually, I didn't catch her. My husband caught her, but she is on my wall. That's the whole reason I married the man, is that he was holding this fish of this beautiful rainbow. And I'm like, I think I need to date him.
That is so freaking cool. Is it a football shaped rainbow, or is it more of a slender rainbow?
Oh, she's football. She is so fat and happy. I mean, she has the belly. One of my friends once said, you know what? I wish our husbands would talk about us like they talk about fish. Look at the belly on that girl. I'm like, you know what? You're right. I wish they would too.
That's hilarious. I love that.
Look at the shoulders that girl's got.
Oh man, that's awesome.
So the reason I asked that question is because the rainbows that I was catching up in Alaska were like pencil thin. It was the strangest thing. And I went out. So my brother and my brother-in-law and their friends are all conventional fishermen up there. And we went out to these Tanana lakes. It was just outside of Fairbanks, and it was probably between 10 o'clock and midnight. It would have been in July. And
so it's bright. It's bright
so
sun.
exactly. So it was still sunny outside. And I was expecting to get outfished because it's their home waters, their conventional fishing. I'm fly fishing. And so I was like, okay, well, I went out there and collectively they caught 1 and I caught 8. So I was like, okay, well, I outfished 3 conventional fishermen on a fly. So I was excited. But every time I'd catch a fish, I was like, these are just some weird looking fish. And granted, they are smaller lakes and it's possible they were stocked rainbows, but they were just real weird shaped. I have pictures of them. I might be able to post one and I'll tag you in it to show you. But they were just really different shaped rainbows. But then I went out on a lake, like an actual lake on a boat a few days later and caught a rainbow trout that looked completely different than those rainbow trout in shape wise and color wise. I wasn't sure.
They adapt to their condition in Alaska. If you fish a river, which we fish the Kenai River, which is south of Anchorage. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the water is absolutely beautiful. It's all glacier water, so it's kind of an aqua green color. Mm-hmm. And we caught trout. It was the end of June, almost the equinox. It was the end of June, and that trout was probably the most colorful rainbow trout I have ever seen. It looked like just a rainbow. I mean, an absolute just rainbow. And I was like, this is amazing. And then we went up to the Katina River, which is northwest of Anchorage, about 3 hours. Mm-hmm. It was 104 degrees for the daytime temperature. Mm-hmm. And we caught salmon and ate that salmon. But it was just the most richest fish that I've ever eaten in my life. Yep. And then we went back down to Homer and went out and caught halibut.
Yep.
And, just the different fisheries there. I mean, just like you were saying, from one lake to another, the fish look totally different.
Yeah.
In Texas, when you catch a bass at Lake Ray Roberts and you catch a bass at Lake Fork, it's still a bass. Yep. There's not, they might be a little more green, a little more black, but it's still a bass. And I think that's what makes the fly fishing so much fun, is each river holds just a totally different story, a totally different fishery. And from one lake in Alaska to a river in Alaska, you're going to get a whole different trout. And it's really fun.
Yep.
It's really, really fun. They fight different. They eat different. They live different depending on their fishery. It's really cool.
I was surprised by the northern pike that I was catching up there because I catch pickerel. I go pickerel fishing here a lot. And the biggest pickerel I've caught here on the fly is 24 and a half inches. And then I go up there and I'm catching northern pike and they're all between 12 and 18 inches. I was like, why are these northern pikes smaller than the pickerel that I catch?
I thought they would be bigger.
Right. And not only that, they were far more aggressive than the pickerel here. So the pickerel here, I've been told they fight kind of like a walleye. I've never caught a walleye, but once you hook them, they're just kind of like, okay, bring me in and let me go type of thing. But
Yeah.
the northern pike up there in Alaska, although they were smaller, they were feisty. You'd hook them and they'd freak out.
You ain't getting me.
Yeah, full head shakes when you're pulling them out and everything. So it was
That's
definitely
awesome.
different, but it was pretty cool because I'd never caught a northern pike before. So, and I think I caught 5 or 6 of them one night. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
If I had to pick my favorite place to fly fish for trout, it would be a toss-up between the White River in Arkansas and the Bighorn River in Montana. If someone said, you know what, I want to go fly fishing for the very first time, the amount of fish per quarter mile or however they measure it, those 2 rivers are going to produce enough fish to keep you occupied and to get you give you a challenge and give you a run for your money. And they're both beautiful rivers, and that would be my suggestion as far as the beginner fishing trips.
That's good to know because that's something that I want to get my daughters out there a little bit more. I've gotten fishing rods in both my daughters' hands. My oldest has learned how to fly fish, and it was that child has luck. The first time she ever fly fished, we were camping at a campsite, and we're just brim fishing at a pond, and she caught over 100 fish in the first 24 hours of having a fly rod in her hand. And I was like, this is just ridiculous. It got to a point to where I was like,
awesome.
Okay, well, I got to go cook dinner. And she's like, well, I'm going to stay here and keep catching them. And here's 92. Here's 93. And I could just hear her yelling from the campsite. I was like, God, this child.
Dad, 95.
Exactly. And my youngest, I've had her cast a flat rod, but not at fish. I've just kind of gotten it in her hand. But
those second born are totally different. So
right, yeah, they're well. It's weird because my oldest is more the girly type, and the less outdoorsy, and my youngest is just a boy in a little girl's body. I swear. I mean, she wants to play football, and she loves wrestling, and she loves fishing.
She's your tom girl.
Yeah, that she
tomboy.
is.
She's your tomboy. Yeah.
Right. And then she'll go and she'll take her stuffed animals and I walked in the other day and she's painting nails and putting makeup on her stuffed animals. And I'm like, don't do it on stuffed animals, but
stop that.
Yeah, but she's a good balance between the two.
Yeah.
But there's a river up here. I don't know if it's the Norfolk or the Norfolk or something like that.
Norfolk. Norfolk.
Where they have the catch and release kids only fishing area. And there are some massive
little area.
Yeah.
I was trying to find a kid to take up there. I didn't never find one. What is it? 16 and under?
Yes.
14 and under.
It's 16 and under, I believe.
16 and under. And, it's all roped off. And it's like,
yep.
I really need to get up that river.
See, I want to take them there. But if my oldest daughter has any luck like me, then she's going to catch this massive 35-inch brown trout as her first trout, and then any trout after that is going to be a disappointment. So I don't know if I want to do that to her.
What am I doing? Yeah.
Yeah, you would ruin her for life.
Ruin her, yeah. Then she has some goals to set. There you go.
Right.
That's true.
Well, then she's going to have to go out of state with me.
That is true.
Or maybe New Zealand.
So speaking of goals, guys, what are your goals for fishing?
Oh, I have so many.
Oh, man, where do we start?
I'll let you go first, Jose.
Well, I think we need to categorize this a little bit. Do you mean like freshwater, saltwater, like in-country, out-of-country?
Wherever you want to go. What is your goal? Your biggest goal?
I can tell you my immediate goal, like one I want to accomplish before the end of the year, is to catch my first common carp on the fly.
Okay.
So I've hooked a few, got whooped both times. I've managed to catch a grass carp not too long ago. I've caught a koi, but I've never caught a common carp. So I want to do that. I want to sight cast a common carp specifically. So I think that would be my immediate goal.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like that's the thing I want more than anything right now. And then I guess like more long term, but still within reason, I want to catch an oversized red on the fly and an oversized black drum. And then after that, that's pretty much like all I want, like here in Texas, like the big things, I guess. Oh, a sheepshead on the fly. I've never caught a sheepshead.
I haven't done that either. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, so I think aside from those things, I want to go to Florida and try and catch a peacock and some of the other I guess, exotics, if you will, they have out there, and then hopefully catch a tarpon. I think long-term goal, tarpon, of course, bonefish, maybe a permit. I think those are within reason, more feasible, I guess, if you will. Now, I guess big picture, like long term, like live trip of a lifetime type stuff. I want to catch a golden dorado in Bolivia.
Oh yeah.
And like that's something I see the videos on Instagram all the time. I want to catch a golden dorado so bad. I want to catch a triple digit tarpon at some point in my life. A permit, and then if I can, and a roosterfish, and then like maybe a GT or an arapaima, tippy top.
That's epic. That is absolutely perfect.
And mine are very similar to that. So I would say probably not going to happen this year, but within the next year, I want to catch a striper. I want to catch a sizable striper on a fly. Above that is I want to catch a bigger redfish than the one that I caught last year, just because I like to challenge myself. And then I would say big goals are going to be, somewhere overseas, probably a GT or I don't know why I've always wanted to catch a shark, a mako, a thresher, something like that on the fly rod, or a marlin, like with a big 14 weight. Tarpon is up there. A lot of those, though, I know I need a lot more development to be able to access those, not only to access them, but to even fight them. So I watch a lot of videos of people doing it, and I just don't believe that I'm skilled enough to be able to, even if I were to hook one, to land one. And so I definitely don't want to spend, upwards of $1,500 to pay a guide to go out there and then meet with the issue. So
you have to
but that is definitely long-term goal is a large saltwater fish on a 12 weight plus fly rod. But pretty close, and I think not easily attainable, but attainable goals would be a sizable striper. I do want to catch more carp, but I'd say that's probably it for the goals for now. I love traveling as it is, so even if I'm going out and I'm catching, actually I lie, I have another one, brook trout. I have always wanted to catch a brook trout.
I've got a brook trout.
They are
one.
such beautiful fish.
And you've caught a lake trout. You've caught the lake trout in Alaska. I've got a lake trout. So you've got that. You've got the grayling.
I've caught a 28-inch cutthroat.
Okay, beautiful.
I've caught a couple brown trout around 30 inches. Rainbow trout. I don't know I wasn't that good at trout identification when we fished in New Mexico. I know I caught 8 trout, but I don't know what they were. They were all juveniles, and I have them on my GoPro footage somewhere. I just got to go through them and I'll go through that. But yeah, so I've caught a few species of trout, but not a brook trout.
I think it's so awesome to be able to set a goal as a fisherman and say, okay, this is my goal. I want to reach for this, regardless if it's freshwater, saltwater, river trouts, or river fish, any kind of fish. I think goals are amazing. Mm-hmm. And my goal this year with hunting and fishing is to clear up what fish and animals I have not caught that are native to Texas. Mm-hmm. So this year on mine is a alligator. I'm going to try and go alligator hunting.
That would be awesome.
That's my goal this year. So, it's kind of fishing and hunting all in one, because we're going to take a chicken and put it on a hook and fish for the alligator and then shoot it.
That's so cool.
So I'll let you guys know. It's going to be fun.
We would.
Yeah, I would love to see that.
Love, not only that, but hear about it. If you make it happen, we'll kind of have you back on. You can tell everybody. That'd be an awesome story, I think.
I'm really pumped.
I actually applied for a lottery for a draw for alligator hunt. I applied for a few of them in Texas this year. Yeah.
Yes, nice. I hope you get it. I hope you do. Last year, my goal was a javelina, and I accomplished that. Went way far down south Texas, and I actually harvested 2 javelina. And, they call them skunk pigs. And that was really fun, too. But,
so how do you feel about javelina in regards to, like, their table fare? I've always heard of people saying that they're not good. I've had it before and I've liked it, but
Yeah. It's
I
kind
hear
of that 50-50, kind of like Aoudad. Some of them are skunky and nasty, and some of them are clean and pure. I actually shot mine with a 300 Win Mag, and they're really.
There
I
wasn't much
kind of
left of
split
it, huh?
it in half, and there wasn't a lot left. So we did get to eat either one of those, but I do love to eat whatever we harvest. We generally we do eat it, from
Yeah.
wild hogs to deer to antelope, whatever it is. We do eat that as a family.
That's
That's
awesome.
one of my big ones.
Do you have a favorite piece of game? Like, is there like a particular species you really enjoy, like above all else?
I was able to eat a bongo tenderloin. And
Interesting.
a bongo in Texas will run you about $35,000.
Oh, wow.
I didn't get to hunt that bongo, just so y'all know. But someone had one in their freezer, and they're like, pick out whatever you want. And I picked the bongo, and it just melted in your mouth. My favorite thing that I've harvested so far is my buffalo. Buffalo Bill. I named him Buffalo Bill. He was 11 years old, and he was finished out on alfalfa, and just the most tender meat, the most beautiful meat I've ever had. Yeah, he lived a long life in Texas, and it was time for him to go. And I got to harvest him. He'll be in the living room eventually, and I'll send you guys a picture. He should be done pretty soon. But he'll be.
We'd love to see it.
I'm doing a 3/4 body mount.
Oh, wow.
So from his hips forward, it'll be 109 inches.
That's
He
awesome.
is almost 7 feet tall. Yeah. His nose
crazy.
was the size of my face. It's insane. He was
That's
huge.
freaking awesome, though.
So
yeah, it was really special.
So I'm kind of curious, like, how did that go down for you? Like, if you don't mind talking a little bit about it.
Oh, no, I don't mind at all. It was in March. It was a nice cold March. We were in Rock Springs, Texas, which is kind of by Kerrville. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, he was hard to find. He wasn't at his normal feeding spot, and he was about 225 yards away. And he was totally broadside to me. And I ended up shooting him 3 times with my Browning 300 Hell's Canyon. It's a Win Mag. Mm-hmm. And the first shot, he just kind of looked at me like, what was that? Didn't faze him. It was a heart shot. So he kind of cinched up and turned around and looked the other way, and I shot him again, because the area we were in was just very, very rugged. Mm-hmm. So if he would have gone anywhere, it would have been really hard to get him back up and harvest him. And so I finally put the 3rd shot, and he dropped right where he was. And it was just an absolute perfect day of hunting. We went out at 6 o'clock in the morning, located him, dropped him, and took him in to get processed. We had to use a come along and a winch to get him on the trailer.
Wow.
I got over 900 pounds of meat off of him.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he was massive. They said he probably weighed close to 3,000 pounds.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he was a big boy. Big
I would say
boy.
so. My goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of my most memorable hunts, and it was just epic. It really was.
So cool.
There's not a lot of people out there who can say they got to hunt a buffalo. That's incredible.
Right? We have 2 buffalo and 1 water buffalo in the house.
Really?
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Where was that water buffalo harvested at?
North Texas.
Really?
This guy had bought a couple of water buffalo off of a Vietnamese lady and had them on his farm, and they're mean. They are viciously mean. They will run you down. He said, I don't want them out here anymore. I thought I wanted to raise them. I thought they would be good for working, for whatever, and they're mean. So Yeah, my husband actually shot the water buffalo.
That's so cool.
It was
That's
the
pretty
meat. We ate the meat on her, and it was 50-50. It was very grainy, very tough.
Hmm.
It was one of those animals you had to cook low and slow,
I see.
like for
Good
2
for
days.
stew.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Just keep adding stuff into her.
that's
But it was
crazy.
interesting. Yeah, she was pretty cool.
So
It was
Wow.
crazy.
I would say that my favorite meat was actually an animal that Jose harvested so far, and that would be the nilgai. I think
Oh,
nilgai
yeah.
is my favorite meat that I've had so far.
That's beautiful meat.
Yeah.
So where'd you get your nail guy?
It was really just good fortune and good friends. So I believe I was working on my master's in Kingsville. And there was an organization there called the Rangeland Plant ID Group, Rangeland Plant Identification, I guess, group. I don't know, but Rangeland Plant ID Team. There we go, team. Sorry. And so basically, what they do is they look at grasses and forbs and woody species, whatever, and they compete in competitions at conferences and stuff like that. And so they were trying to, if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember if it was them or the Wallace Society. I believe it was them. But anyways, someone from the King Ranch donated a nilgai hunt as a thing that they could win in a raffle. And so my friend's dad ended up winning that hunt. And so one day my buddy calls me and he was like, "Hey man, I got a question." I was like, "All right." He's like, "So my dad won that nilgai hunt, but he doesn't want to do it because it was just a hunt, and he didn't know, like he didn't want to pay for processing and all that stuff because that's a pretty big animal, and they can get pretty pricey depending on what you want." And so he's like, so my dad said he didn't want to do it, so he gave it to me if I wanted to do it, and I really want to do it, but I don't know how to go about doing it. I don't know if I can afford the processing fee or whatever. And so he's like, "So the reason I'm calling you is because I want to know if you would like to do this hunt, if you think you can." And like the first thing that came to my head was like, "I don't care. I'm doing it. I'm going to find a way to do it." Because how often does something like this happen? A nilgai hunt on the King Ranch ain't cheap, and it's well out of my budget as a grad student. I mean, it's out of my budget now. It's a very big animal, very cool experience. And so in my mind, I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to figure it out later. So I was like, "Yeah, man, like, don't worry, I'll do it." And so I ended up knowing the guide who was going to take me out. So I called him and I kind of gave him the rundown. I was like, "Hey man, so this is kind of what's going on with that nilgai hunt. So my buddy's dad won it. He didn't want to do it. He gave it to my friend. He don't want to do it. So I'm just calling you to see, before I agree to anything, would it be like, is it cool if I accept this if neither of them want to do it?" He goes, "Yeah, man, that's fine." He goes, it's for whoever, I guess, has the ticket. If you end up with it, then we'll take you." I was like, "Cool." So I called my buddy back. I was like, "Yeah, talk to the guy. We're all good to go. I'll do it." And so we hashed out the details, and it happened pretty quick. Like I didn't even have a gun or anything down there in South Texas. So I had one back home, but it was a 270, and the guy, he's like, he goes, it just kind of depends. Like if you're a good shot, I think you could do it, but I've never hunted with you. I don't know where your abilities are. To be quite honest, I'm not very comfortable with you having something smaller than like a 7mm mag or something like that. And he goes, "If you don't have a gun big enough, you can borrow mine," which happened to be a 7 mag. So it was a Remington 700 Sendero, if I'm not mistaken, in 7mm rim mag. And I was like, "Yeah, man, that's fine." And so I had never shot a gun of that caliber before, that large ever.
Yeah.
And and it was an awesome gun. I really liked it. But so we ended up meeting at the front gate, and we went down. It was in I think it was the Nordiest division around Port Mansfield.
Yeah.
So we went there, and then we started driving through, and like we're driving through these sand dunes and stuff, and then he stops the truck, and we see two nilgai kind of walking away over some dunes, and so we're watching them, and he's like, "Man, I think it's a little bit too far," and then we see one closer to us. He goes, "Dude, that one I think we can get." So we hopped out, and then we kind of started putting a stalk on these nilgai, and And it was kind of trippy because like you would go over the dune, but you had to go over real slow so they don't see you. And then when you go down, like they can't. So we went down this dune, and before we get to the top, he goes, "All right, so when we get to the top, you need to be ready to go because it's gonna be there, and it's gonna. I'm pretty sure he knows like we're here. So if it's there, it's gonna be looking at us. You're gonna need to be ready to go." I was like, "All right, cool." So we came up over the dunes, and like my adrenaline's just pumping. Like from running through the dunes, like I was so out of shape, like I was out of breath and stuff. And then just my adrenaline's just going. I'm shaking so hard. And so we come up, and sure enough, just like you said, the no guy's there. He's already like looking at us. He knows we were there. So he sets up the shooting sticks, and I put the gun, and I kind of get settled in. And he's looking at it, and he goes, "All right, man, if you're going to take the shot, you got to take it now." And so I managed to get the crosshairs settled enough, and I ripped off a shot, and I ejected the round. I was putting another one in the chamber, and I was following it in the scope. And he kept telling me to shoot it again, but I could see it like kind of like stalling and keeling over a little bit, and then he was just done. And
That's
so we went up
awesome.
there. Yeah, I think it was 180-ish yards, something like that.
Heck yeah.
And so when we pulled up, like I've seen them before, like on a ranch I used to work at. I've seen them around in South Texas, but I've never seen one up that close. And it wasn't even like
They're beautiful.
they're gorgeous. And it wasn't like a fully mature bull. And I told him that too. I was like, look, man, because he asked me, if I wanted to get like a really mature bull or a cow or what. And I was like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like whatever you can get me, I'll take, because this is just this is probably a once in a lifetime experience for me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get greedy. I just want the experience. So whatever we can come up with, that works for me. And so he was a good bull, beautiful bull, and I think he field dressed right around 310 pounds, I think.
That's a big
and so,
boy.
Yeah, so they had to use a winch and stuff to get him up on the bed. And so
that's
we
awesome.
dressed him out and everything. And luckily, I have a friend who he owns a ranch, or he used to own a ranch in Del Rio. Actually, I think he still does. I'm not sure, but he does a lot of hunting and stuff out there. And so he had a grinder and stuff at his house. So we ended up just taking
so you
the
processed it all yourself.
House. Exactly. So we didn't have to go and do the processing fee, whatever. I just gave them some meat and stuff in return for all the help. And I mean, it still took us probably like 6 hours to break down the animal and get everything packaged up and stuff. But we had so much meat. I gave them some. I gave some to my friend and his dad because they, as a thank you, obviously. And and then I gave some to Russell and some other friends and family. I still had a freezer full. It was amazing. It was one of the coolest experiences I've ever had, and some of the best meat I've ever had. And it was awesome. It was.
That's the funnest part, is sharing all the meat with everybody. Giving everyone a chance to eat it and share it and love it. That's my favorite part, is being able to harvest that animal and just share the wealth. And when we harvest animal, we process everything ourselves.
Nice.
I can totally break down an animal, and that was very important for me to learn how to do that. And I enjoy it. I mean, I know that sounds kind of crazy, but I actually enjoy the harvest side of it and the processing side of it, making the sausage.
I don't think that's crazy at all. I really enjoy that part too, because I mean, in the moment, like, obviously it's messy and stuff, like, you gotta get dirty or whatever. I don't really care about that. But I think during the actual processing of the animal, I know that I get to share this with people I care about. We get to have a good time, tell stories, share those memories and things. And I think that's what I look forward to whenever. I think that's why I like it, because I know what's to come.
Yes.
It's more than just like harvesting the animal. That's only like a 10-second blip in the entire experience,
Yep.
And I think, unfortunately, that's what a lot of people get hung up on. Like, oh, you're killing an animal, you're a monster. I mean, yes, like that is unfortunately the reality of the situation. But at the same time, we're sharing that with other people we care about. We're making memories with the food that we're getting from it. we're getting to have like great conversation, great experience with people, surrounding ourselves with people that we care about. And I think that's just like the beautiful part of it.
Yes.
You know,
Thank
like,
you. Yeah, I agree. That is.
I think another aspect to it that I like so much about it is I know that animal was harvested responsibly and with respect for the animal. So if you're buying meat from a store, you don't know how that animal grew up. You don't know how they were treated. You don't know how they were killed. You don't know anything about it.
Where
but
they came
if
from,
you're the
what they
one
ate.
harvesting the animal and you know that you're doing it the responsible way and you're having respect for the animal and you're thanking the animal for allowing you to be able to harvest, like there's just a lot more mentally that goes into it for us as outdoorsmen than just going and buying something from the supermarket. So I think that's another aspect to it on why I enjoy doing it.
Exactly.
Yeah,
like,
that is nice.
For example, even people who like garden and grow their own vegetables and stuff, I think the same could be said with that. Like if someone showed up to my door and they had like some grocery bags full of meat and vegetables they bought from HEB or something, they're like, "Hey man, I was at the store. I saw this stuff, thought of you. Like I just want to stop by and drop it off." It would be kind of weird. Like, you don't think I can afford my own groceries, you know? But at the same time, like I would appreciate the thought, you know, like but it would be a bit odd. Now, if someone showed up to my door, like, "Hey man, I just got back from an elk hunt in Colorado, and I also have like these vegetables that I grow in my garden. I just, I knew you would appreciate this. I just want to come by and drop it off."
Yeah.
Like conceptually, it's the same thing, right? Like it's meat and vegetables, but the meaning behind it is so different. Like I think because maybe it's the primal part of us, but we know what the person had to go through to harvest and to be able to bring that meat to us. And to not only know how special and everything they went through, but that they thought of us in that moment to share it with us. And also all that they had to go through to grow the vegetables that they're sharing with us too. It means more than just going to the store and,
it really does.
Buying something, whatever. So there is like, whether we know it or not, like there is something special about the meat that you harvest from the earth yourself, and also the vegetables and things that you grow from the earth to yourself. And then other people, I think, would also recognize that, and it's having the supermarket is convenient, but it's also, it kind of like disconnects us from the reality of what is, natural and true in nature.
True.
But yeah, so I mean, that's like going back to what Russ said. Yeah, I think that's the other thing. That's the other beautiful thing about being able to go and harvest your own food, whether it's from the animal or from the ground or whatever. It is a beautiful thing. And
a shout out to all the different states that have set into regulations to protect and take care of these animals so that they're here for not only our generation, but generations to come, with licensing and protecting and testing and making sure they're taken care of and harvested correctly.
Exactly.
And I think that's awesome.
It is, for sure. And I think that's one thing that people that didn't grow up hunting or fishing that might not know about. And that's kind of the scope of this podcast, is we want to be able to get the word of conservation out there to the people that, weren't raised up knowing hunting regulations, fishing regulations, just the normal everyday person that may not know why these laws and rules are set in place. And it's for the conservation of the animal. And there's a lot of science that goes into it. We don't have to go into that on this episode.
Yeah.
But there's just a lot of people out there that just don't understand. Like they think, "Oh, you're just killing an animal." And it's like, but if I don't kill this animal, then there's going to be overpopulation, and then there's going to be famine, and then animals are going to die, and then there's going to be diseases. Like it's not like, "Oh yeah, just go kill animals." It's like, "Oh no, you only have a certain percentage of animals you can kill." And we've done our studies, we've done our research, and we see that you can only, harvest this certain amount of, and that's why they're so harsh on people that are caught poaching, because they're not abiding by those regulations. But a lot of people just don't know that, and it's not information that's thrown out there. If you're not going and getting a hunting license or a fishing license, you're not going to have that content in front of you.
Yeah,
and so I think that's one of the things that we want to do, is have an entertaining way to actually get this information out to people that might not otherwise see it.
I think that's awesome. Way to go. Beautiful idea.
Thank you. We're trying. We'll see how well we can do.
Let's do it.
Episode by episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But but going back to your thing about goals. So you mentioned goals you want to accomplish. Are there goals that you set like early on in your journey that you have accomplished?
Oh yeah, I did the Ram Slam where I've got the Mouflon and the Doll and the Black Hawaiian and the Aoudad. I've gotten every native animal except a mule deer and an alligator in the state of Texas.
Wow.
That including raccoons and different trapping. That includes that. So yeah, I'm getting to where I'm going to start reaching out to other states. It's like, watch out, New Mexico and Arkansas, here I come.
Right.
So
Hell
yeah,
yeah, that's
it's
freaking
pretty
awesome.
cool. And I love the goal setting, and peacock bass is on there, tarpon's on there. I have been tarpon fishing twice, once conventional and once fly fishing, and I've yet to catch a tarpon.
Really?
And so, don't be discouraged. If at first we don't succeed, we got to go back.
Right.
And
Exactly.
part of that is the fun of it. It's okay if your partner catches one and you don't.
Exactly.
More glory to them. That just gives you more oomph and more desire to accomplish that. And I'm going to get there. If not, I'm going to keep trying anyway.
Right.
So yeah, and I think that's really important is for people to set that goal and not be discouraged and not be afraid to step outside the line and try something new. I was scared to death to fly fish the first time. And now I go back and try to conventional fish and I forget what I'm doing. It's like, wait, where am I? So it's a learning curve and then you got to go backwards. So it's pretty fun.
So I've actually heard that going from no fishing to fly fishing is easier than going from conventional fishing to fly fishing.
It is. That's what I've heard too.
Because it's just a whole muscle memory. Yeah. But I don't know of very many people that have gone opposite. I don't know of many people that have gone from fly fishing to conventional fishing.
My husband
or if there would be. Really?
So that was really funny. So fly fishermen sometimes have the attitude against conventional fishermen like, oh, they don't know what they're doing, especially ditch pickles, bass fishing. And so I told him, I said, you know what? I've crossed over and I've started fly fishing. And so I got us a guide on Lake Fork and went bass fishing. His first bass that he caught, it was July, the end of July. It was 104 degrees on the water. We were slow rolling 1 ounce jigs at 40 feet deep. I mean, slow. And I'm like falling asleep. He's like, oh, I got one. And our guide goes into guide gear. Get him up, reel. 8 pounds, 7 ounces. Wow. His first bass to ever catch. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Yeah.
That's
awesome. Lake Fork produces. Yeah. It was beautiful.
I've always wanted to go to Lake Fork. But I've never been.
Let me know. I will hook you up with the best guide ever. He is absolutely amazing. So
I will keep that in mind. I think the only lake, because Lake Fork isn't that north-ish Texas?
Yeah, it's northeast.
Yep, so the only North Texas lake I've been, actually it might even be Oklahoma. I think it's Texas though, is Arrowhead. You ever fished Arrowhead?
Oh yeah, Arrowhead. Yeah.
I've had a lot of luck on white bass up there.
Yeah, white bass is fun.
Oh, so much fun.
That's not too far from Lake Texoma either. Lake Arrowhead. For a while, Lake Arrowhead was shut down because they had to redo the dams around it.
Really?
So Lake Arrowhead almost became a groundhog prairie dog farm. That's what it was, prairie dogs. And so you go out there to Lake Arrowhead and all you would see were prairie dogs.
That's crazy.
So that kind of became an art of hunting. And so that was fun. So you do where you'd shoot them with the 22 because the farmers wanted them gone because the cows were falling in the prairie dog holes and breaking their legs and dying and whatnot. Yep. So, you just kind of have to make an art of it. So you'd shoot them with the 22 and they'd flip once or they'd flip twice or they'd flip 3 times, depending on where you'd hit them. So yeah, it was pretty fun. But the lake finally got enough water, and that was in the early 90s.
I see.
That the lake was so shallow. And then they they were able to bring it back, and now it's doing really, really well.
I think it was probably the early 2000s, maybe 2000, actually probably 2005, 2006 era.
Yeah, so that's 12 to 15 years after it reflooded. So yeah, that's awesome.
It was a beautiful nice lake.
Yeah, it's beautiful. That's cool.
So it sounds like you came from, well, you started out, it sounds like conventional fishing, and then found your way into fly fishing. So now are you like fly or die, or do you kind of dabble in both still? Or?
No, I totally dabble in both. When we go to the coast and we wade fish around Corpus, Port A, I'm conventional fishing. And, I wrap rods for Waterloo rods, and I have to have all of them. I mean, that's the bad part of working at a rod company is I want all of them. So
they make some great rods.
Oh, they're beautiful. Spin rods, bait casters. I'm going to attempt to make my first fly rod.
That was a question I was going to have.
I'm going to order a blank and set it all up and get it all figured out. And I know you guys were talking about that the last podcast.
Yes.
Of doing that. So I'm like, well, I can do that. So y'all actually help me set that goal.
Awesome. I actually ordered a fly blank today.
Yeah?
Yes.
What size?
I ordered one. Order? I ordered the same one that Jose has, the Pelagos 6-7 weight glass rod.
Okay. Nice.
I got it in Glacier Blue though because the white was out of stock. So I got the blue, but I wasn't planning on ordering the blank, but so they have a fundraiser going on. So they're raising money for the wildfires in Hawaii. And so they had that post go out, and I was like, well, I'll donate, for the cause. And
I need to
so,
do this.
yeah, right. And so it's a $15 raffle ticket. I bought a few of those, and when I put those in the cart, I was like, well, I can just buy a rod now. I mean, I already have it in the cart, right? And so I just went and put the rod in there or the blank.
Like, give it to me now.
Exactly.
That's
so that'll be
awesome.
coming
Way
in
to
soon.
go.
And then
That's
I need to start looking at it.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Well, I can't wait to see your journey through that. It's gonna be fun.
I'm gonna try to document the whole thing. I'm gonna try to have my camera on a tripod and document the whole process of it. Pelagos Fly Fishing is actually having a raffle for, they're going to give out a fly rod to go for benefit for those in Hawaii. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, those of y'all that are listening, I mean, if y'all can afford to, or even just to go share the post and get it out there, I mean, there's a lot of people in need over there, and they're doing some good things over there. So if there's anything that y'all could do to donate, share, post, anything like that, it'll be greatly appreciated by those.
Definitely.
Yeah, more information. So if you follow Pelagos on Instagram, you can go to their bio, and there's a link to the raffle. I think it's $15 entry right now. I think it's unlimited entry, so you can buy as many as you want. If you don't want to donate to the raffle, I think the fella heading it up is accepting donations, and I think it has some details about how to get in contact with them as well. So whether you're just sharing the post or if you want to donate anything to kind of just get the word out there, would be much appreciated. So if you're so inclined, just feel free to check it out. And I know I try to help out a little bit. I think Russell did as well. So, just trying to help some folks out in Hawaii. But yeah, if you're so inclined, just check it out, spread the word. I think the community there would really appreciate it.
For sure.
For sure. A little goes a long ways.
That it does.
Exactly. So on to less sad news. Going back to the rod building. So you ordered your blank, Russell, and so Buffy, you want to build your own.
Yes.
Have you? So you're a rod wrapper, right, for Waterloo?
Yep.
How are you enjoying that? Like how's an average day in the rod shop look for you?
I generally get to work about 8:30, and I wrap probably anywhere from 6 to 12 rods a day, depending on which rod it is and what kind of wrap it is. But I love it. I mean, it's really it's so much fun. It's very tedious. It's very time consuming. You almost have to be a little OCD to get there. It's a perfectionist art that is just so much fun. But I get to talk to the customers and figure out what colors they want, how they like it, what they want on there. And I mean, that specializes their rod. I mean, it just customizes it to them. And it's really fun. It's really, really, really fun. And if that gets them outdoors, gets them motivated, helps them set goals to that they have a rod wrapped in their favorite colors, then so be it. And it's awesome.
That is really neat. Did you have any experience within that prior to working there, or did you just kind of work or learn on the job?
Just learned on the job. The owner there, Jimmy Burns, he's like, you know what? We'll work with you. We'll find you a spot where you want to be in the company. If your heart's in fishing and your heart's in the outdoors, we got something for you, from retail to wrapping to coating to just customer service. And after doing hair for 38 years, I love people. I love doing hair. I love women. I like to figure out what it is they want. And I love that. And so I was just able to fall into this job, and I totally respect it and enjoy it.
So did you start as a rod wrapper there, or did you do something else previous?
No, that's what I started as.
That's awesome.
I really thought I would start in retail and working up front. And they're like, no, let's try you back here. So
that's awesome.
Oh, no. So I did it, and I'm like, you know what? I really like this. I kind of like being back here and wrapping the guides. And it's really just a part of the rod that no one really gets to see before it's coated.
Right.
Yeah. And it was fun. Yeah, I loved it.
That's really neat. Yeah. I wish I had reached out to you and Victor when I was making mine, because wrapping the guides, at least for me, was a major pain. I thought tying flies was hard, but wrapping the guides
it's a lot more tedious. Yeah.
Yeah, making sure like the wraps are tight enough that there's not any spaces in between and all that stuff. And I thought they looked good, but when I started applying the epoxy,
everything kind of starts separating.
Yeah, and I was like, son of it. And I started seeing some little separations it was really infuriating, but I was like, well, too late now. It is what it is. So
what are you going to do? You can always heat it up and it'll help. Yeah.
Oh, there's some
little techniques. You can get a flame and heat that epoxy up, and it'll smooth on out in between there and close those holes up. And there is definite art to it, though. Just like doing any other kind of process, you learn as you go, from painting cars to doing ceramics. There's a certain level. You have so much space that you can play with, to get things to work. Yeah. And sometimes it's the rod, sometimes it's the coating, sometimes it's the humidity, the heat. But it's very interesting how those rods come about, how from start to finish, it's a true art. It really is. Yeah. And people, when they get their rods, they love that rod. That their heart and soul is in. It's like, well, I can't do without this. My hook keeper fell off and I need it fixed right now. And you're like, I totally understand. We got this. And that company, they really do stand behind what they sell. They put their heart and soul into it, and we love working there. All of us employees. It's really a great company.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I have a curiosity question. You may or may not know. So I've been looking up, because I over research anything and everything that I do. And so if I wanted to put text, like a text design close to the butt of the rod, I don't even know what to look up. I've been trying to look it up on YouTube, and I'm finding all sorts of videos on wrapping patterns. And I don't want to have like a 5-inch wrap at the bottom of the pattern. I just want like some text. Yeah. Is that something where it is painted on, or are they stickers that are epoxied over? Do you know?
Yeah. Yep. So you have the different designs with the thread where you do all the intricate, but they also have a wrap that you can buy, and it's like a shrink wrap. So you put it around the rod, you hit it with the heat, and it shrinks to the rod.
I see.
And it'll have the different designs and the little intricacies. And then you laminate that or coat that or whatever you want to call it, epoxy that.
Okay.
There's that way. But we also put names and logos on.
Yeah. And so that's what I was looking to do is do text and a logo.
Yeah, so you do your normal rod wrap, however you want it, and then you print up your logo design and put that on there, and just coat over that regular.
I see.
But we send it off to a company that's all they do is print out logos. They do just tons and tons of work as far as not T-shirts so much, but cups and boat wraps, truck wraps.
I see.
They,
so
do
vinyl
all
work and
kinds
stuff
of
too.
stuff. Tons and tons and tons. And they'll print up your design, and then we put it on the rod.
I see.
And,
that makes sense.
You know, I think it's a $35 charge to have your logo put on the rod. And then, but that's a one-time fee.
Yeah.
So, you know, once you get it, then you have it, you put it on any rod. So
I see. That's awesome.
That's how we do the CCA rods or, you know, whatever company it is, whatever fishing tournament or anything, we can put that on there.
I see. That's awesome.
And it's really fun because then we can color coat the wrap to it, you know, doing all the thread to match your logo. Yeah. So you guys need that. Let's get it going.
That's exactly what I was wanting to do. I want to do it for this rod that I'm going to make. If it's going to be custom, I want it to have, you know, the podcast logo on it. And of course, I'm probably going to want it Longhorn colors and all that.
Yeah. Oh dear. Oh dear. We do Longhorn colors. We do A&M colors. We do Houston Astro colors. We do, I mean, you name it.
That's
we
awesome.
do the colors.
I think I saw on Instagram or something. I don't know if it was, I think it was Waterloo. They did a Houston Astros themed rod. That thing was sick.
We can do some amazing stuff. Most of my rods are named after gods and goddesses. You know, I can't even think of what my names of my rods are right now, but yeah, so I color coordinate it to that. You know, my husband just laughs. He's like, really? Yeah,
that's awesome.
You know,
that's pretty cool. I just had this strange idea. What if you were to make a rod for what species you're targeting? For instance, you have your carp rod.
That would be cool.
That would be awesome, wouldn't it? It's like, okay, well, this is my trout rod. This is my bass rod.
This is my trout rod. This is my redfish rod. Oh, that would be cool. And wrap it in those colors. I actually made my trout guide up in Montana, a HP Light from Waterloo, and I wrapped it in brown trout colors.
That's awesome.
So it had the oranges and the purples, and he fell in love with it. So that was really cool.
That is so cool.
But he loved it, and so that was fun.
Do you have a favorite rod that you've built for yourself or for someone else?
Yes, my favorite rod is the Waterloo Carbon Mag. And I put Torzite guides on it. And when you fish with that, it's a bait caster, and you cast it out, it sails. I mean, there's there's no sound. It's totally quiet, and you cast it, and it goes. So that's awesome. My favorite. Yeah, the Carbon Mag. It's a 6'9" rod, and I don't think there's anything that rod couldn't catch. It is awesome. Absolutely. But I have a HP Light, an Ultra Mag, a Carbon Mag, a Slam Mag. I mean, I my goal is to get them all. Yeah.
It's a good goal to have.
Yeah, I don't really get a check. I just get a new rod.
Could be worse things, I guess.
There's got to be worse things. I mean, I could be buying purses or clothes, right?
Right. See, that's how I feel like I'd be if I worked at a restaurant. It's hard
for my husband to say no.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get checked.
He's not going to say, no,
food.
honey, you can't have a fishing rod.
So now that you've been wrapping and building rods for a while, like when you go into like a big box store and walk through their fishing section, do you just look at them a little bit different? Like, oh, these aren't all, you know.
Yeah, you do.
There's a little thing wrong here, or a little thing there.
You look at and you're like, oh, well, that's really pretty. Most of my critiquing is on the positive side. Well, that's interesting. Or why do they put this there? Or why do they put that there? I try to take a positive view of it instead of a negative view, like, oh, well, you shouldn't do that. This is better the way we do it. It's interesting to see, you know, the different play on why. From the top-notch Shimano. But, yeah, I think there's a reason and purpose for all of them. And if that gets someone out there, then I think that's awesome.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I like that. I like that for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of people get hung up on like, especially I think I see it more in fly fishing than conventional, but a lot of people get hung up on like brands and like how much people spend on, yeah, and I mean, which is all good and great. Like if you can afford it, buy it, whatever.
Oh yeah.
But the fact that, but not everybody can afford that $1,000 Sage rod or
Exactly.
whatever. And so I totally agree. Like my first rod, I think was like a $20 special from Cabela's or something, and that got me to where helped to get me into the sport that I love now. So I mean, it is like you can't buy memories, I guess, or experiences.
Yep, exactly. I like to buy once and be done with it. So my main deal is to look for who offers the best replacement, the warranty work, because things are going to happen. Things are going to break. Life happens.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a very important part, that they stand behind their product and they stand behind the conservation side of it. So I try to really work with the companies that really that do that part, so that our sport is here for generations to come. That's one of the most important parts for me, is to make sure that they take care of the industry they're producing. And
I 100% agree.
Yeah, there's some awesome companies, that will give back and pay it forward. And
exactly.
I just wish them all the best. And that's who I try to reach out to and purchase from, because that's going to keep us here. Yeah. That'll give a percentage of their profits to Hawaii that has burned down. You know what? Because us as an individual, we can give a little bit, but those companies can give more. And if we reach out and buy their products, and they can in turn turn it over and help 100,000 people, I'm all for that. I think that's beautiful.
And they can also get the word out to more people to help. So
yeah, they got that following and that storefront to do that. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the very few good things about social media now, is that we can, I guess, reach out to a larger audience and get that help and band together and stuff when we need to get things going.
Yeah. So. Yep. And I think the first thing that started with was like Farm Aid, and we can all remember. Oh, I can remember that. Y'all probably can't. I probably not born yet. But yeah, I think that's wonderful.
So one thing I was kind of curious about, being that you're like a woman outdoorsman, and did you, like, when you were trying to get started or anything, were there like any obstacles, or did you feel like you weren't really welcome at times? Or were there anything that you felt like you had to kind of endure to be here in this space?
Yeah, to be a lady in this fishing, hunting, outdoors area, it's about 50-50. The older generations, my age and up, I'm 56, so my generation and up, we have a different view of where women should be. And I have had to explain myself or stand up for myself in this sport, more so in hunting than in fishing. When you start talking about calibers and guns and different things, different hunting aspects, if you go into a gun store and you ask to look at a Kimber Aegis, and they're like, well, do you want to look at this Glock? This why do you want a 9mm Aegis? And it's like, you know what? I just want to look at it. So there has been some barriers that I've had to break down in the last 5 years. When you look at the statistics of women in fishing, it has become a $1 billion industry.
Really?
$1 billion.
I did not know that.
Whenever I started doing hair back in the 80s, it was a $1 million industry. And now to think that 30 years later, fishing has become a $1 billion industry for women.
That's insane to think about.
If I have the ability to talk to different vendors and different things, and Sims is one that has really reached out to the female and said, you know what, we really want you into this industry. We really want to dress you. We really want you to be comfortable here. And their spring collection is just going to top the charts for women, for the female side. Finally, I'm in several different hunting and fishing groups. And that's the number one thing. Where do you get your clothes? What do we do for women? How do you address this? How do you address, simple things like going to the bathroom on a boat? It's starting to be an industry where we're included. And I love that. I think that's so awesome. And you can't look back and go, we weren't included here, so I'm going to be angry about this. It's the fact that, we're being included now, and we're opening doors, and we're being, we're getting to expand everything, not only as women, but as couples. I think it's beautiful to see couples out on the water and see them with their kids and their husbands and just embracing the sport of hunting and fishing. I think it's amazing. And so, you could look back and go, oh, that wasn't fair that we weren't included in this. But, why do that? Let's look forward and open the door for women and kids and couples. And I think it's just awesome.
I think it is too. And I've been on the other side of that to where I'm just a dumb dude. And I took my girlfriend kayak camping and didn't take toilet paper. Just stuff like that. Like I'm just a dumb dude. I didn't think about, the luxury, the things that are luxury for me that are necessities for her.
Yeah.
And I don't think about when I'm a dude out there camping on an island, I don't think about the restroom. I'm a dude.
You just go back to the transom and pee off the back of the boat.
Exactly. And so it's one of those things where it's like, okay, maybe I should think about that a little more because, my kids don't go out on, lengthy excursions with me very often. And now I have a girlfriend that's wanting to do stuff like that. And it's like, okay, I need to kind of change stuff a little bit, make it a little easier for her.
We got a different little box.
Right? Got to be a little more inclusive. So it's something that I've never even thought about, but it's crazy to think that just over the past, decade or so, there's been so many changes. To be a lot more inclusive.
It's amazing. I was always a tomboy. I grew up with cousins and brothers, and I've always been the tomboy. And so it never, it was never a problem for me. It's like, oh, I got to go pee. I've got to go do this, or I've got to go do that as a female. And they're like, oh, okay. They just don't think about it. But now it's really starting to be part of the forefront where women are included. Camping and fishing and hunting and but I love seeing the couples because I think it just brings couples closer together where they can communicate, be outdoors, and just share the experience of fishing and harvesting animals and just stocking your freezer.
Absolutely.
Be it fish or wild game or whatever. And it's so fun to be able to share that as a couple with other couples and bring them into it. With me being 56, some of my clientele's older, some of them are younger. And it's really fun to see 60 and 70-year-old women and men out on a boat together, sharing stories and catching fish and, oh, he did this or she did that. It's just so funny. I just laugh nonstop. And just the camaraderie. It's kind of like duck hunting. You're on a blind and you're shooting ducks and you get to visit and share and carry on. And it's just epic. It really is.
I love storytelling like that. Me and Jose have actually met quite a few people waiting for Black Friday shopping at Cabela's. And we talk to random. There's some couples, typically it's older gentlemen, but we'll just go out there and just hear the craziest stories, funniest stories, most intriguing stories from people that, you're just sitting out there waiting in line. You ain't got nothing better to do. So
we were fishing on the Green River And I said, guys, the clouds are getting kind of heavy. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. So I pull up my radar and I'm like, no, there's a storm coming. And he's like, oh, I think we're in front of it. I'm like, well, we are, but it's coming. And so the wind picks up. It starts just pouring down rain. And you can't beach it because there's not a beach. But so you pull over the side and climb up a little cliff, and we're running through all these different trees and swamp area almost. And all I'm seeing is moose poop. And I'm like, oh my God, please don't be a moose. Please don't be a moose. It starts hailing on us. And we're running through this thicket. And I see this baby moose run off to the left. I'm like, oh God, please don't be a mama moose. Please don't be a mama moose. And sure enough, she was gone. But we were in in their little area. We were in their little hideout. And I'm like,
that would have been nuts.
Oh, it was insane. It was insane.
Those things are mean.
Oh, they are mean, and they're huge. Of course, the Alaskan moose are bigger than the Montana moose, which are bigger than the Wyoming moose. You know, it's kind of like car races. It's like my car is bigger than your car. My moose is bigger than your moose. I don't care. It's still big.
A moose is still a moose.
Well, we didn't run into a moose, but we did get out of the hail and the rain and the lightning. So that was that.
That's good. Yeah, it's crazy. That's not something obviously I think about in Arkansas, living in Texas for 18 years. You don't come across moose, you don't come across bears. It's not something that's like a common thing. And so when I was up in Alaska last July, or whenever I was July before, and we were fishing, and so it was, I don't know, probably midnight, and I decided to play a prank on my brother and brother-in-law and his friend, and I was going to walk across the lake. And so I was acting like I was fishing, then I was like completely across the lake and I could see where they're at. And I was like, hey, and I'm just waving at them and they're waving at me. And so then like they were going to come over and join me. And I decided I was going to run off in the woods and try to flank them. And so I run off in the woods and they pack everything up and they start walking towards me because I've been gone for a while because I was just hiding from them, you know, and they go walking over there. And then when they get to where I was back where they were. And I waved at them. I was like, hey, across the lake. And they start coming back. And I run off in the woods again. And I'm hiding behind this tree. And they're walking down the path. And their friend saw my legs. And I just started laughing. They started laughing. I didn't think anything of it. Well, then the next morning, I was telling my father and his girlfriend about the story. And she's like, you had the gun, right? And I was like, no. Like, they had the gun.
I didn't have
she's
it.
like, there was literally a brown bear that killed a family of 3 right where you were like the month before, and people get trampled by moose there. And I was like, I didn't think about that. I could have died.
I didn't even know that. I was like, I'm from Texas and we don't deal with that.
Right. I was trying to play a prank.
Oh my goodness.
Life's a little different up there, man.
It's for real.
That's crazy.
I have listened to some amazing stories from my husband that was a guide on the Kenai River for 20 years. Just moose and elk and bear. It's like black bear, brown bear. He's like, well, you'd rather be chased by a brown bear than a black bear. What? I don't want to be chased by a bear at all. Yeah, y'all would love the stories that he tells. It's hilarious. This one lady came on one day and she said, so she was from up north. She's like, so like, where do y'all like put the fish like in the winter, like when it freezes? He said, well, they actually, you know what? We put them down in a warehouse and yeah. And she said, at what point do the caribou turn into moose? And he said, well, you know what? They turn into moosaboo. At about 3 years of age, they turn from caribou to moose, and we call those moosaboos.
That's hilarious. I didn't realize until I was probably late teens that caribou and reindeer are the same thing.
Oh, y'all would love talking to him. Y'all really would.
We should have him on the podcast sometime.
Yeah, we'll have to do that because it's really fun.
Or the both of y'all. That'd be fun.
Oh, we just need to have y'all come down here.
That'll
we'll
work
set
too.
up shop here. Then we ain't got to worry
we can
about
do
it,
that too.
right?
Right. We're going to worry about losing connectivity.
Yeah, it'll be
Exactly.
perfect. Yeah.
So speaking about the Musaboo and all that, y'all ever hear about there's a woman who called into a radio station complaining that they needed to move the deer crossing signs because they always put them by the roads.
I heard that. It's like, if y'all wouldn't put that right there, then those poor animals wouldn't die.
She's like, you put the sign there because the animals need to know that's where they need to cross. Well, why don't you put it in a less populated area? It's like, that's not how it works, lady.
They're like, you do know that's not for the deer, right?
And part of that is what so beats us women up. It's like, girl, shush. You just shush.
She's probably one of those girls that are pretty that just needs to stay that way.
Yeah, just sit over there and be pretty. You just need to be pretty. Yeah, those are the ones that I did their hair for, but whatever.
So, Jose, when you were up here and we went to the Buffalo, did we see any elk signs?
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Did y'all?
Yeah, there was actually. And so the first
did.
time that I went up there, I was like, is that an elk sign? I was like, did they run out of whitetail signs or something?
Yeah.
But there's...
So we looked it up, and there's a small population of elk in that part of the state.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
like,
cool.
really?
I thought it was the craziest thing.
I was like, there's no way. But yeah, it's I never knew that about Arkansas. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Arkansas
I've yet to see one, but I think it would be awesome.
An amazing state. I was born in Arkansas.
It is.
Really? What part?
Oh, were you?
Yep. Camden, Arkansas, southern Arkansas. And, you never forget your roots, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So duck hunting, that's what Arkansas introduced to me was duck hunting. And it's beautiful, beautiful sport. I love it.
That's one thing that I've never done. I've done a lot of dove hunting, but never been duck hunting.
Oh, you've got to come and go duck hunting for real.
Duck hunting is one of my absolute favorite things that I've ever done, but I don't get to do it much. Like back to the Kingsville days, I had a group of friends. We would do public land dove hunts whenever dove season rolled around, and then we do some duck hunting along the coast whenever it was season, and then we just fished all the time. But that was mostly in undergrad. When I started grad school, it was just like all, it was all
got
busy.
time for that, yeah.
Exactly, all business. Didn't really have a whole lot of time, and I didn't know that many people because everyone who I did that with had like graduated and left, and so there weren't a lot of folks around. So I haven't done it since like 2015, 2016, maybe. It's been too long.
Oh,
I freaking love it.
My
It is so much
first
fun.
bird hunt was crane. We went out to
Really?
Lubbock, way out there. That was my very first. And, crane's amazing. If I could pick one protein to eat for the rest of my life, it would be crane. It is seriously, it's like the filet mignon of the sky, not even ribeye. It is Tenderloin City. And so from that, I went to East Texas and did a teal hunt. So I go from pterodactyls to the fastest bird in the sky. The first flight that came through, I didn't even stand up to shoot. I was like, what just happened? I mean, those teal fly so fast. And the sound they make is, oh my gosh, they're just beautiful animals. And from there, we have pretty much, our deal is to at least duck hunt at least half the days of the year. So at least 48 to 50 days out of the year, we duck hunt.
That's awesome.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
See, that's something that I want to do.
So beautiful.
Oh, they're beautiful. And they taste amazing. If you, our favorite way to do it is I take the duck breast and I quarter them into probably 1/2-inch squares and put them in a baggie with brown sugar and pepper and garlic and salt, or Montreal steak seasoning. So either way, and let that soak for about 4 or 5 days. Put them on a skewer, wrap them in bacon, and put them on the grill.
Oh, that sounds so good.
Damn, that sounds.
And it is like duck candy. It is. They just melt in your mouth. It's beautiful. Absolutely wonderful.
Good.
Yep.
I gotta try that next time.
See, I live 2 hours from Stuttgart, and Stuttgart's one of the duck hunting capitals of the world. And I don't know why I've never. I don't know why I've never been.
Dude, you got to go down there. You got to go. Yes. Yeah.
Dude, it's so cool. Like, one of my favorite things, like when you get there, because you got to get there super freaking early, set up the decoys and all that stuff. But then when you're just chilling in the blind, having a cup of coffee or whatever, and then the sun will start breaking the horizon, and you'll hear them before you see them. Yep. They're like sound like little fighter jets coming and like whizzing around you. It is so awesome, dude.
There is nothing like it.
There's nothing, and you'll hear it like splash into the decoy spread. And you know that they're there, but you can't shoot them because they ain't shooting light yet. Yep. And so, but usually by the time shooting light comes up, they're already gone. But
dude, it's like they know. They know.
Oh yeah, it is freaking awesome, man. I love it.
Well,
I love it so
down here
much.
by Port Lavaca, we have a lot of rice fields and a lot of crawfish ponds, and so they'll flood those in the fall and winter, and that's where we fish. And generally we get out there probably 6:15, 6:45. We're set up. By 7:30 we've limited.
That's awesome.
We're done.
Wow.
Yeah, it's insane.
See, that's beautiful. How I'd hope it is here, because I know a few people that go duck hunting a lot over here. And
Stuttgart, yeah, you're probably done it. Well, 6:45 when safe at 6:40.
But it's so freaking cold when they go. Like, they'll send me pictures and there's ice like hanging off their facial hair, and I'm just like, see, I'm not about that. I love the cold, but I don't want to be in the water when it's cold. Like,
you're there for 15 minutes. You're done.
And that's the thing with duck hunting. At least from my understanding, it's like the nastier the days, the better the hunting.
Oh, it's better.
Like, yeah, like when it's super cloudy and overcast, maybe you got some mist going. The ducks are like flying super low. They'll decoy better.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really
a different ball game.
It is.
Well, I need to get out and do it.
Yeah.
They're hardcore, man. Waterfowlers are a different breed. They'll get out there super early. It doesn't matter how cold it is. It don't matter if it's raining. They're going to be there till they can't be there, I guess. So I think we'll go ahead and maybe get close to wrapping up.
Okay.
If y'all are okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And but before we do, I guess it's a 2-part question for you, Buffy. So what would your advice be to any woman who are wanting to get into the outdoor space? And then that's part 1. And then part 2 is for someone who's looking to get their partner into the outdoors, just trying to get the partner in there. What kind of advice would you offer them as well?
The first part is any female that would like to get started, don't be scared. Reach out, because every gentleman that I've spoken to has been more than willing to say, look, you know what, we'll help you in any way, shape, or form. So I think women should just jump in there and not be afraid to ask questions and reach out. There's always going to be those few that are negative or whatever. But for the most part, every guy I've come in contact with has been more than willing to help me learn and be a part of the outdoors. They love the fact that we want to be out there. They want to teach this trade. They want to include women in this trade. Do not be discouraged because you're a lady. There's a place for you. There's a spot for you. As far as how I started was look at your local stores. There's always someone that has a free class or a $25 class. But if you look online, you can find those places. You can see it. You can join them. You can find your spot. You can find your clan. And whatever your ability is as far as finance or travel, there's somewhere that you can go outdoors and reach out and catch a perch, catch a catfish, catch whatever's in your neighborhood. It's still fun. And you can learn so much. I love to research different flies, different Whenever I was on the Bighorn, I was able to see osprey, eagles, whitetail, blacktail. There's so much out there, and you can find what you're looking for, from hummingbirds to bumblebees. They're out there, and there's something that you can learn from and search out and just enjoy being in the great outdoors. It's beautiful.
That's awesome. And something that I can add to that is there's a lot of outdoor agencies, natural resource agencies that actually have stuff. So I have a friend that works for Arkansas Game and Fish, and she actually helps head something called Becoming an Outdoors Woman. And it's this series to where they host events at the nature centers and stuff like that to get people out. And so I'm sure that if Arkansas is doing it, that there's probably other states doing it. So just to, piggyback off that, go to your natural resource agency and see if they have anything going.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. That's wonderful. That's cool. I'll have to look that up because I love coming to Arkansas. It's the natural state. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And then to kind of piggyback off of what Russell was talking about. So I know of two organizations here in Texas. One is the Texas Women Fly Fishers, and they're a woman-based organization who try to help, other women in the outdoor space. And it's pretty cool. They have they put together outings and things like that. It seems to be a pretty good organization. I don't know much about them, to be truthful. It's just something I stumbled upon pretty recently, actually. But that could be a cool resource for anybody looking. And then there's also the Green Fly Girl Society, which is based out of New Braunfels, and they also do some fly fishing based stuff too. So
I'll check those out. That's cool.
Yeah. So two things, at least here in Texas, that help promote women in the outdoors. So definitely worth checking out, I think.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Cool.
Pretty neat.
That's
and
awesome.
then, so what about?
It's been fun.
So just one more question. So what about couples? Like if someone's wanting to get their partner involved in the outdoors, what kind of advice would you give them?
The first thing that I found with couples, I did it's called C.A.S.T, C-A-S-T. It's Couples About Sports Tournaments. And they do bass fishing mainly. And there is divisions all across the state. But anytime you are out on the water, you're out on a creek, you're out on a river, there are people there. And they're so willing to help you. Any of the fly shops, any of the fishing shops, there's so many between every major city in Texas that you can go to. And every man that owns a fly shop generally has a woman that is married to him. I mainly reach out to whichever fly shop or fishing area that I'm at, and they'll direct you. They'll include you. They'll direct you. I have not been turned away or knocked down on any way, shape, or form. I have a pretty strong personality, but still,
that's good to know.
Everyone is very open and including in every fishing aspect that I've been in. I have not found any walls or fences that I need to try to climb over. It's awesome. Yeah. It's come a long way in the last 20 years.
That's good to know. That's one thing that, I can say that the fly fishing community is pretty inclusive. I'm not as big of a hunter as I am a fly fisherman, so I'm not too sure on that side of things. But me personally, has never discriminated against a woman trying to get into the sport. If anything, I've encouraged people, but I'm sure there are some people out there that get discouraged, and so it's good to hear a woman that has an extensive outdoorsman background to say, just do it, and people are inclusive.
Just do it. Just go for it. Learn what you're doing and research it, and you know what? That's what guys had to do too, growing up. Mm-hmm. Y'all weren't just you weren't just born with it,
Right.
It's the same thing. We all have to do our research and serve our time to make it worthwhile. And be it trying to catch a tarpon or trying to harvest an alligator, there's so much we need to learn from each other. And that's the beauty of it, is coming together, the camaraderie, and the education that we can all take from our ancestors forward. And I love to pay that forward.
Well put.
So if anyone out there needs any kind of information that I can give them, I'm 100% in.
Awesome. And we can leave your Instagram link in the description of this podcast if you're open for that.
Awesome.
That way people can reach out if they need to or want to.
Okay. That'd be great.
So, but this has been, I would say, probably one of the better episodes that we've done. It's been very interesting content. Yeah. And on top of that, it's things that we haven't covered in any previous episodes. So we really appreciate you coming on.
Well, thanks, guys. Great. I think it's been really fun too. This is my first experience, and you guys have made it really, really awesome.
Well, I'm glad that we could be of assistance with that.
Yeah, we're glad you're able to join us, and hopefully we can. We're looking forward to doing another episode with you and perhaps your husband or the both of you guys at the same time. That'd be a lot of fun. So, just thanks again. It was a great one. I really, really enjoyed it.
You guys are always welcome here. Just give me a holler. You got my number, and come hang out in Inez, Texas.
Well, we appreciate that. We'll definitely have to make that happen.
By the way.
Good, because I got 2 rambunctious ones.
There you go. Bring one down. I love those girls.
Well, thank you so much. And so it's been a great episode. And for the listeners, thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for making it to the end. Like we always say, we appreciate y'all listening. And if there's anything that we can do better, just please let us know. And we will have links in the description so you can reach out to any of us. And I guess that'll be it. We'll catch y'all next time.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.
This has been Wildlife Outdoors. Thanks for listening. Follow us on Facebook at Wildlife Outdoors and on Instagram at wild.life.outdoors. Let's go live life on the wild side.